is How to Train Your Caterpillar, a spiritual life coaching channel. You are very welcome here. Thanks for checking out the video. This is going to be about just a quick one about how to break generational curses. Before I get into it, I just want to say again, thank you for checking out the video. Hopefully you'll enjoy it and you'll find the information useful, and if you do and you feel like liking and subscribing for me, I would appreciate that a lot. So I'm doing this video because it was something someone asked for, so I think it's a good topic, so that's why I'm doing it. It sounds like a kind of a scary topic, really, breaking generational curses, but a generational curse, really, when you break it down, is just a pattern of behavior that's been passed on from like your grandparents to your parents to you, or whoever the caregivers were, right? So it's just a pattern of behavior, really, that needs to be broken. So the thing is, though, you can't fix a problem you don't know you have, right? So the first thing that you need to do is to identify the problem. So this is generational curses is a pattern of behavior. It's something that's going to be affecting you in your daily life, because it may be something that you're not even aware of. Usually they are. It's just a pattern of behavior over and over that you're not aware that you're doing. So basically, this is a shadow work issue. If you want to know what shadow work is, I have another video on that. Feel free to go and check that out if you want. But once you start doing your shadow work, you're going to find that these patterns come to the surface quite readily. And once you have identified them, they're actually, it's quite easy to break them, right? With most things anyway. So, because, you know, really the person, if you want to know about shadow work, the person you want to read is Carl Jung, right? Who always talks about when you're kind of being led by the ego, you're just sort of going like round in circles, like you're not really in control of your actions, you're being led by your ego. Whereas once you start to do the shadow work, the ego sort of starts to fall away, and you see these patterns, right? So for example, like an easy one that probably most people have and is probably not going to trigger anyone is like a money thing, right? You may have inherited a lack mindset from your parents, because maybe, for example, they were really poor and their parents were really poor, and then it's got to you, and maybe you're not actually that poor, or maybe you are, but maybe you were raised like, you know, working class or very poor. But either way, you kind of inherited these ideas around money, which is like, money's so hard to come by. And once you kind of establish that lack mindset, it's something that follows you to adulthood until you do your shadow work. And you take that step back and you're like, oh, you know, like in Minority Report, where he's got the board and you can kind of see, and you're like, oh, that's what that is. That's why that, oh, I don't need that anymore. That can go, you know. Or like, I always have this problem, you know, say it's like a problem with intimacy in relationships, right? That may be something that you've inherited from your parents, and maybe they inherited that from their parents. But once you've identified it, you can kind of be like, oh, I don't need that anymore. That can go, you know. So basically that is my take on this topic, like breaking generational curses. You really, it's really shadow work that you're talking about. Shadow work is something, it's really something that, in my opinion, kind of starts to come through naturally. Like once you've had a, you know, a spiritual awakening, or whatever you want to call it, once you've had that, it tends to instigate like a period in your life where certain truths are revealed to you about like the people around you, or the situations that you've been in, or your own patterns of behavior, and you end up kind of taking a step back from everything. There's usually a period of isolation in these spiritual awakenings, and that's kind of the period where you're kind of removing yourself from these situations, dealing with the shadow work and being like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. So you may leave behind some of these relationships, but you're kind of bring in new relationships that don't have these generational curses attached to them, if you see what I mean. Like, you know, say for example you have a problem with intimacy, right? And you know, you've spent your whole life kind of chasing people who are emotionally unavailable, right? Once you've done the shadow work and identified the problem, you're then, when you meet people like that, you're gonna be like, oh no, I'm not going for you anymore. I see what you are now. No, I'm gonna go for this healthy person here, right? And the same is true of kind of these money issues. Like, once you start to realize that you're coming from a place of expecting the worst with money, you can step back from that and you can change your mentality. You can start to sort of tell yourself different stories, right? Like, instead of saying like, oh, money's so hard to come by and I have to save it all the time and I still don't have any, like, it doesn't matter how hard I work, like I never have any. Once you start changing that story to, I always have money, you know, I don't even work that hard and I have loads of money, like I just always have money and I have abundance when I need it and things go right for me, you'll be surprised how quickly things start to change for you, because it's a mindset, right? So yeah, I think that's the video, just a little quick one. Hopefully that you found this useful. Thank you so much for watching, and as you know, I said earlier, if you feel like liking and subscribing for me, I'd appreciate that a lot. And as always, I wish you many blessings, love and light. Take care.